Hey, thank you. 56. On the number, 6 o'clock. Will we get rolling? Sorry. Andrew's gonna be late.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. You got a text.
I was like, I'm on my way out to the train.
We missing Tim.
No, he's here.
Yeah.
Kneeling down.
Oh, he said next street. Yeah, 601. That's it. Whipping goats. Thank you.
Not coming through.
Let's go.
I'd like to bring the meeting to order and ask that roll be called.
Bougeron.
Here.
Feldman.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Goldhauser. Here. Tyra.
Here.
Wagenbach.
Here.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yusef, you had something?
Yeah, I just want to bring one thing up really quick before we start off. I just want to just have a brief moment of silence for the young victims of the mass shooting that occurred last month in Minneapolis, August 27th. I just want to let you know, as a school, I think it's worth listening to the brief meeting silence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yusef. The board will now move on to public participation portion of the meeting. Dr. Dearman will begin with the superintendent's report. Dr. Dearman.
Thank you, sir. First item, FOIA requests. We've had 9 new FOIA requests this month, and there are still 2 in progress that Mr. McKenzie is working on. Next item, we have Eagle Talent Award, and I will turn that over to Mrs. Ellis to present.
All right, I brought some special guests with me this evening. Over the past 3 years, I've gotten to work very closely with these 2 gentlemen in my capacity in student services as we plan to proactively address emergencies and our response to different crises. And I got to see Deputy Medina in particular in action about a week and a half ago. Long story short, these 2 gentlemen were helping label our trails behind Dunlap Middle and Dunlap Valley. If you've not ridden back there before, there's about 5 different intersecting trails that they wanted to make sure that they could label so that in an event of an emergency, they could effectively communicate with one another and other first responders. So during that process, there was a medical emergency of Deputy Ryle, and Deputy Medina was there on the scene to respond with medical assistance as well as dispatch additional life-saving support. What resulted was Deputy Ryle losing over 2 liters of blood and obtaining 14 staples in his head. So definitely was a very scary time, but we're thankful for Deputy Medina there. I did put down some words I wanted to read. His commitment to school safety is not limited to responding when something goes wrong, but day in and day out he exemplifies proactive safety planning by building relationships and anticipating needs. I do know that these 2 guys like to joke around a lot with each other and with the staff, but as a mom and an employee in this district, I know when something goes wrong, they are the 2 people that I want responding, and I know that they will do so with 100% of heart, now blood, sweat, and tears. It was a moment of true crisis that I got to see Deputy Medina's character revealed without hesitation. Even before putting on protective equipment, gloves, he responded by getting 2 trauma pads to stop the bleeding while he was dispatching and making sure we got Deputy Ryle back to where he needed to be. He was calm and decisive, and he ensured that help arrived quickly and that his colleague received the care he urgently needed. This level of courage and professionalism is what the Eagle Talent Award is all about. He's super excited to hang this up in his office. And it does say how his actions or in the face of an emergency serve as a lasting example of service to others. And we appreciate Deputy Medina on behalf of the school district, our staff and families. It's an honor to present you the Eagle Talent Award. So thank you. We're very also thankful that Deputy Rob has made a full recovery. He's still as snarky and sarcastic as ever, and has made a full recovery, and we're so super thankful for that. So, yeah.
Thank you much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Still good. Go right now.
They're not staying.
All right, thank you. Just a quick reminder to the board, the budget is up for adoption tonight, and all 7 members need to sign that so that we can get it turned in. So before you leave, please see Miranda. Next item I have is construction update. First, we'll go with the training center. Dr. Adrian, myself, Katie, Mrs. Ellis sat in on a construction meeting late last week. And in that meeting, it was shared the progress. Obviously, the road is coming quite nicely. We're a little concerned about the weather and how that's going to impact the core of the CMAT and the timing of that. But we're looking at late September, early maybe October now with weather, opening of that road and having it usable for traffic, which is huge for us. The second update I have is on the Wilder Way Elementary School. We have the community forum set that has gone out. That will be 30th, I believe, at 6 p.m. at the Wilder Way Gymnasium. Ratio Architects is in charge of that, and they will be handling the event setting. Next thing I have is a congratulations to Dr. Matt Andrews, who was selected as Administrator of the Year by the Association of Illinois School Library Educators for his dedication, foresight, and unwavering support of our library program. He will receive his award in person October 6th. Congratulations, Dr. Andrews. Mr. Feldman, that's all I have.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to public comments. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? If so, please raise your hand. Okay. This concludes the public participation portion of the meeting. The board will now move on to the information discussion items. The next order of business is a public hearing for the FY26 budget. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
So Mick, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Andrew, is there any discussion? Roll call vote.
Felton,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Holthauser, Tyra,
Aye.
Quackenbach, Young, Boudreaux.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding the FY26 budget? Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there a second?
Second.
Tim, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Hall,
Aye.
Holthauser, Tyra,
Aye.
Quackenbach,
Aye.
Young, Boudreaux, Felton.
Aye. Time is 6:10. Motion carries. The school activity account reports have been included in the board packet. Are there any questions? The FY25 administrator and teacher salary report has been included in the board packet. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, next, Dr. Dearman will present a financial presentation / update. Dr. Dearman.
All right, well, for tonight's presentation, I just wanted to go over some finances because part of my job is to share information with the board so that they are fully informed as decisions are made. And so with that, that is part of tonight's presentation. The objectives, as you can read, are basically where have we been, where are we at now, and where do we see things going. Certain things that I think we can all agree on. The funding of schools in Illinois is not good. It's heavily based on property taxes, causes inadequacies and inequalities amongst different districts. We cannot change that. We do not dictate the funding formula. There's a reason Illinois is ranked 49th out of 50th in funding of schools by the state. It's not good. We can all, I think, agree on that. We also can't change that. But Dunlap is very attractive. Talk to any of the realtors in this area, they always steer them towards Dunlap for a reason. And that's because of the fact that our schools are good. That is attractive to home buyers. I also understand, there's a delicate balance between the attraction not only to good schools, but tax rate and how those two intertwine with one another. But why are our homes worth so much? It's because of the value of the schools. Our dirt is no different than the dirt in Morton or Washington, and the materials in our homes are no different than those homes. It's the schools that I believe is the true difference between us and some of the other districts. We need to continue to invest in our schools, that's obvious, to keep them current, to keep them attractive. And then the last item is trying to maintain a delicate balance of investing in our schools, but also you have to have money in reserves for a rainy day as well. And that 180 days cash on hand is from ISB, and that is the minimum requirement to get a 4.0 on your financial profile score on your AFR. So that's where that number comes from. If you don't get a 4.0, it's not the end of the world. However, it can potentially affect your bond rating, which then in turn impacts your finances. So where have we been and what happened? I gave a very similar presentation, I believe it was 6 years ago, regarding finances. And at that time, I made a statement that the path that we were on was not sustainable. And I've heard other board members, some that are still around, some that aren't, make a similar statement. However, that was 6 years ago, and we're still here. And the path has been sustained. So was I wrong, I guess, is the question. And we need to look back and see some of the things that impacted where we're at now. Say what you want about COVID, but we got $3 million out of that, and we were smart on how we used it. We didn't create a financial cliff by hiring a bunch of people that when the COVID money ran out, now we've got no way to pay for their salaries. We didn't spend it on salaries or people. We spent it on different aspects of what was needed at the time due to COVID. We did not create a funding cliff. One of the things we did is we transferred some excess money that was in IMRF and Social Security to the tune of about $2 million. 3 years in a row of EAD growth of 7 to 8%. It's predicted to do that again, according to Peoria County in conversations with Mr. McKenzie. The last 2 years, we've been at Tier 1, which is a priority tier for funding of the evidence-based funding model. And I just gave a couple examples. In 23, we got $3.75 million. This year, 7.8. So that has certainly helped matters. Teacher vacancy grant, that was about $1 million. And then just as an example, and I can give multiple examples, but Mrs. Caslick gave me this one, and I think it's very clear of how we're being efficient. Between early release and summer school, we've done some creative scheduling to adjust to the fact that our staffing is somewhat limited and our space as well. By making these things available to students, promoting them and pushing them, we are able to save 6.4 FTEs by doing this creative scheduling. And people is where we spend our money. So this is a perfect example of one of the things that the high school alone has done to save money. What this is, these are old. This is straight off copy and paste that financial presentation I did many years back. when the board asked me to provide 3 different options as far as cuts. If we want to cut millions of dollars, what would it entail? Now remember, 80% or more of our money goes towards people. So if you look at these people slash programs to get to those monies, now these are also 4 to 5 years old, so these are low. I'm sure they've all gone up in that amount of time. I mean, you look at some of those things, or those things we tout ourselves as the premier district in central Illinois, but are we not going to have family and consumer science, Project Lead the Way, art, some of these other things? Here's the second menu to get it a little bit less, 2.7 million at that time. There's some things that you can read. And then menu 3, this one, less again, but also trying to make a significant cut as far as dollars go. Some other financial matters to consider. I've shared this before, it's not new. We talk about efficiencies. Our instructional expenditure per pupil is in the 95th percentile of all schools in the state of Illinois, and that includes comparing us to elementary school districts, which are less expensive to run. High schools are expensive to run, middle schools are expensive to run, elementaries are probably the least expensive of them, because you don't have the course offerings and different changes that you have at the middle and high school level. Then you look at the operational expenditure per pupil, we're in the 96th. So I believe we're being very efficient. I would make the argument in both of those categories, we may be the most efficient unit district in the state. So we have been very frugal with dollars that we've been given, and we're not spending money on things unnecessarily. Our student enrollment has increased 1,200 students in the last 10 years. That's equivalent to Princeville and Brimfield being absorbed into the Dunlap School District, their entire populations. However, the supplies to each of the school buildings has not changed in that time. So buildings are asked to do the same or more with equivalent dollars, even though they have significantly more students. And then we really haven't hired in the last 3 years, except for those that are mandated either by school code or dictated by class sizes. And we have too many students, we need to have a section just to make it work. The financial data that I'm using comes straight off the AFRs, except for 24-25. Those are from Mr. McKenzie. Those are unaudited, because Lawrence hasn't finished their audit yet. And then 25-26 is a projection based off the budget that Mr. McKenzie presented. But the others are straight off the AFRs provided to us by Lawrence. Here's just a big overview of the different graphics. Thank you to Mrs. Ellis for helping put these together. But here's revenues and expenditures. And I'll get to a slide that I think shows this best of all. Surplus deficit, I think this one speaks volumes. So if you look at this, you gotta take some of it with a grain of salt. For instance, last year's 24-25 shows a negative $1 million. But part of that was the Chromebooks that were put off and paid approved at a later date. But we're cash-based accounting, so if it's done in this fiscal year, it has to count in this fiscal year or that. That's in there as well. So, but it's a very clear and obvious trend. We've been running roughly $1 million or so deficit for many years, minus the COVID year. Fund balances, you can see a trend. The top line shows a linear regression as far as the ed fund. Pretty clear. O&Ms stayed fairly static, and then transportation up until recently fairly static, but we've been transferring some money out of there. So you'll see that dip a little bit. And that's to pay for some of these other things that we're talking about. And this is a perfect example of working cash. We've put money in that for years and not really touched it. And then you see this big dip because we transferred money out of there to cover the training center. This slide, I think, is very telling. It's as straightforward as you can get. Revenues and expenditures. This assumes in the last years that are projected a 5% growth in EAD or revenue, and then a 7% increase in expenditures. And I think those are very realistic. expectations in those numbers. If you look at this, the revenues and expenditures, they are not going in the right direction. And that can be seen here as well. If you look at the expenditures, that's the top line. You can see a very clear linear progression going up, and that's to be expected. We understand that. Revenues are also going up, but not at the pace that the expenditures are. We have a gap that is being created. Now, this does not include any of the major structural work or other projects. Dr. Adrian put together a spreadsheet, and I believe had $17 million worth of work. That was over the course of 5 years, I believe. I went back to him and said, okay, I understand that, but what are some of the things structurally that we have to have? And he brought up some of, these THS, RTU air handler units. They're 1997 models. They're 28 years old. They're not going to last forever. And kudos to our maintenance staff and for Joe Wolf and Tyler for keeping those things going and piecing them together. But you can only kick this can so far down the road. So these expenses are coming. Those other expenses that are not in the projections that I gave to you, the playgrounds. We're going to put a new playground in Wilder Way. It's going to be the poured rubber surface. My recommendation to the board is we need to do the poured rubber surface at the other 4 schools. If we don't, I'm afraid we're setting ourselves up for a potential problem. We've done the engineered wood fiber mulch. It has got us by to this point, but it's needing some attention too. And I believe it's about $20,000 to bring in a load of that in top dressing. Yes. Okay. So the cost for the playgrounds was about $1.4 million to do all the playgrounds, not including all the way the other 4 in the poured rubber surface. And if you look at these items, Dr. Adrian's done a very nice job of breaking these down into more manageable chunks each year. So the total, as you can see, is about $3.5 million, roughly. That may change a little bit as time progresses and costs adjust. But those are the major structural needs. And you can see down the bottom left, it doesn't include the annual O&M on kitchen stuff, doesn't include any summer project, doesn't include capital projects. There are several things that aren't there, but this is like the must-haves that really can't wait. As far as our district goes, our district is not really going to change too much. This is the projection from Decision Insight, which has since been, purchased by Power School, and they give a conservative and a moderate prediction, and they've been very, very close. So they had us at 48.25. That's exactly to the number. Well, I'm sure it changes every day, but last time I checked, they were spot on, perfect. So these numbers are very realistic. So as you look at this, we are going to continue to grow, but then we're going to level out, it looks like, about 5,100 students, somewhere in that range. So I don't anticipate dramatic growth, but I also don't anticipate us losing enrollment either. Some area tax rates. Ours is $4.44. You can read for yourself what some of the others are. Some of these aren't really fair comparisons, I don't think. I think the Washington average is probably a fair comparison, and Washington is at 6.25 if you average their 3 elementary districts in with their high school. Morton's probably a good comparison as well at 5.28. Some of these others maybe not so much. So then, what are the solutions? What are the remedies? Are there cuts that can be made? Of course, there are always cuts that can be made. But when you're looking at the discrepancy of millions of dollars, we don't buy $1 million worth of paper clips every year. And I showed earlier with the 95 and 96 percentile rankings how efficient we already are. And I've done a breakdown before, I won't do it again, of every dollar that comes in, how much of that is really liquid cash. It was not much. So if we're looking to make significant cuts, it's going to come in the form of people. And that's why I wanted to show those older menus from many years ago. It's going to come in the form of programs and people. It has to, because there isn't just enough meat on the bone anywhere else to take millions of dollars away. In my personal opinion, I don't think we have an expense problem, and I think the data reflects that with our percentile ranking. We have a net revenue problem. Our education fund rate percentage, now I know our EAB is dropped. So our percentage, our slice of that pie has not changed. Now the numbers have grown because the pie's gotten bigger, but the percentage that we take hasn't changed. I went back 25 years, that's as far as I could go, and it hasn't changed. Well, think back. Tom, you can think back. It's your birthday, many, many years ago. 25 years ago, how many school psychologists, OTs, PTs, counselors did we have? Very, very few. Now we have a lot more. And I'm not saying those aren't needed. They certainly are, and they certainly have their place. But I'm saying that the demands on the ed fund have increased so much that the percentage that we asked for has not changed regarding that. So then what's the question? How do we do that? What do we do to close the gap? Because the path is not sustainable, and some of the recent expenditures have expedited the timeline of where the rubber is going to meet the road as far as expenses are going to outpace revenues, and we won't have the ability to dip into reserves to pay for them. So what's the remedy? What's the solution? Well, there's several. This is not the first time I've talked about this, a 30-cent tax increase. That would still tie us for the lowest tax rate of anyone in Peoria County. And the impact on a $300,000 home would be $282. Do we need to do that? No, I don't think we do. Well, I don't think we need to do that, because if you look at this, the days cash on hand on these projections, we're fine in 2014, 26, 27, looks like we're okay, and we dipped below that 180 projected in 27, 28. This is a difficult calculation to come up with because it changes every year. The cost to instruct a pupil changes. I mean, there's several variables that go into that equation. So these are estimates, but they're going to be ballpark. They're going to be close. So I'm not asking the board to do anything at this point. I'm not recommending anything at this point, just making people or the board aware that some of the recent decisions have expedited that timeline of when expenses will outpace revenues, and we won't have the reserves to fall back on to pay some of those things. So we need to look at different options. There are 3 different ways to do this. We can do a referendum. That would make it permanent. If we wanted to do a 30-cent, 40-cent, 50-cent increase, whatever we wanted. You can do a referendum. You can do working cash fund bonds. That is the most common way. According to Bernardi and Associates, who's handling our bonds, I asked what percentage of the schools in the state do that. Because we've done it before. We did it with the IMRF and Social Security. He said between 75 to 80% of the schools do working cash fund bonds. It's not uncommon. And I said, well, what about the 25 or 20 to 25% that don't? And he's like, some of the suburban schools don't need it. They're flush with cash. Or others have done things where they made it permanent. They don't have to issue them every year. They did a referendum and got an increase, so they don't have to keep going back to that. The next question is, well, why 30 cents? 30 cents because that still tied us for the lowest, and also it just made the numbers easier. 30 cents, $300,000 home, roughly $300. It's just easy. There is no rhyme or reason to it. We could do other things. So that is my financial report as far as the status of the district as I see it. I confirmed this with Mr. McKenzie. He helped me with some of the numbers. Ms. Holzhauser and I have discussed this. She helped with the numbers as well. She agrees, so we've got 3 people looking at this and all coming up with the same result, so I believe the data is reliable. Questions you have for me?
As a district, did we ever ran a referendum to increase the tax rate?
Not that I'm aware of. But again, I don't think that's necessary at this point, but maybe
Yeah,
2 or 3 years.
I'm just curious historically, we've lived here, I don't know, 12, 13 years. I knew we hadn't since we've been here. I was just curious if anybody knew the history.
Not that I'm aware of.
Dr. Dearman, can you go back a few slides to the red numbers? You know which one I'm talking
This one?
about. And I understand there's nothing that needs to happen today. I get that. And thank you, Dr. Dearman, for taking time to meet with me and go through this. You know how I like numbers, right? You're looking at 28, 29. I'm going to look at my screen because that's a little small for me. 27, 28, 2.8 million. $3 million, 20, 28, 29, 4.3, 29 and $36 million based on this. And this is a 7% increase in expenditures, which if you look historically, you'll see that, and that's going to happen, right? Because most of it is people, just like you said, 80% plus is people, right? I'm looking at the budget just for this year, and I know this is in your projections, but this year alone for the for the next year or the current, we're getting an increase in evidence-based funding of 1.6 million. And I had the conversation with you. That's not going to continue at 1.6 million. We don't know what that's going to be. We have had an EAD increase of, we're expecting 7%. It's been 3 years already at that, right? I think this will be the 4th year. I guess my big concern is where we're at here, and the same as you have, right? Where we're looking at 26, 27, or 25, 26, $400,000, right? And then we go up to 1.5 million. If we can't get there with these type of increases with evidence-based funding, 7% increase in EAD, I just got a huge concern. And I know we've been using reserves, and I know I've been saying the sky's falling, I get that, but we're seeing that right here, and we're going to see that. And I guess my question to you is there something that we can start proactively now, whether, and I know you guys are looking at that, Mike McKenzie, proactively now to take a look and do that deep dive? And I know it's 80% there, but we have to come up with something. I know how it's affecting people and these increases in these property taxes. I hear it. I hear it I think everyone else probably hears this too. It affects everyone in this room, these property taxes and how they're going up. Is there something that we can proactively do? And I've requested this in Finance Committee, right, to take that deep dive. Maybe there is something there. I don't get into the weeds, right? As board, we govern that. But what are your thoughts there? I know there's different triggers you can pull, but I think at any given time, what happens if that increase, when we're saying 5%, next year's 1%? Where are we going to be then? You see what? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just asking if we can be proactive. I know the sky is falling for me when I see this, but just want to know your thoughts. I just want to get ahead of it.
I completely agree, and that's part of the reason I'm here now before things get in crisis mode, because we're not in crisis mode. We're okay for now.
Right, I agree.
We need to get out front of this. I've been saying it for a while, but it's been expedited now. We go back to this slide. It shows these negatives. I mean, that's not great either. And trust me, people are looking at this. I got a call yesterday from Bernardi, who's doing our bonds, and we'll be discussing that later, the 44 million. Investors called them and asked, we see some deficits, fund transfers. What is the district's plan to address these shortcomings in these operating funds? And my response was, we don't have a plan. We are in discussion, and actually it's a board agenda item Monday night. We are aware, but people are looking at it, is my point. And those experts in the industry see that it's a problem. So we need to address it. As far as your question goes, can we do a deep dive? Yes, but if we're looking at millions of dollars, I'm just telling you that's gonna be in the form of people. And I just have a hard time recommending that to the board when we tout ourselves as the premier district. But we're going to be cutting programs and people that I think make us attractive. That's what separates us from some of the others. Yes, our tax rate is low, I'm not arguing that. Our homes are worth more, but why are they worth more? We don't have special dirt here. We don't use special materials in our homes. It's the same dirt, same materials they have in Washington and Metamora and Princeville. So why are they coming here? Well, those two factors. So they are intertwined, and I think there is a balance there. So I think we still need to keep that tax rate low, but also be realistic. This district lived for a number of years off that exponential growth in EAV, and we've lived off of it for the last 3 years. But that's not going to last forever. We've had years where it's declined, my first 2 years. Then it leveled out, and now we've seen these increases. I don't really like doing projections, to be honest, because if I would have come to you 4 years ago and said, you know what, I think we're going to have 3 years of 7 to 8% growth, at that time you would have ran me out of here as being crazy. I would have never predicted that to happen. So with that, I think the linear regression models that I show are very clear, and that expenses are going up, revenues are going up, but there's a gap between them, and it's only growing, and we have to do something to address it. The deep dive is certainly a good
And I
start.
think that's, I just want to make one more comment. I think that is imperative that we do that, because if you go back to that slide once again, 28, 29, 29, 30, you're looking at 4.2 and 5.8. Even if you would do that 30 cents, that's a Band-Aid, right? We've got to take a look at what we're going to do as a district. I won't be on this board, and I want to leave this district, or we're not going to have people in 28, 29, 2030 saying, what do we do now? I want to leave it better than it was, right? So just make sure, that's where I'm at, because I can see that writing on the wall, and that would just be a Band-Aid fix if we don't take a look at that.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Dearman. Appreciate all your work. Thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
I guess I just want to, the only comments I'll have is, I want to follow up a little bit here on, so, Dr. Dearman, I mean, you acknowledge that, you know, the deep dive isn't going to get all or exactly all of what you need, but I think you said something like it's a good place to start. I mean, and I know Teresa had thrown out the idea about a finance committee back in July in an email. We circulated it around a little bit. Then it was talked about, and then said, well, it's got to be open, and who would be on it, that kind of thing. I mean, should there be a dedicated, no more than a couple board members, but continuing this conversation instead of waiting till the third week of October for the next time we talk about it?
Probably.
Yeah, so I think that's a good idea too. So I'll work with you, Dr. Dearman, and I'll reach out to Teresa, and then maybe pick another person to, well, ask Teresa if she'd like to participate, but then find another person to join in.
Tom, are you before the next meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll have to pick another, I'll talk to you about it after this, but I can't be on that committee, so if somebody else on this.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you, we'll want to make sure that we get to the right, I'm just saying to continue the conversation. I mean,
completely agree
there
with
are
you,
things on the agenda, and again, you sent out that email in July, and here we are 2 months later. I mean, there are things literally on the agenda that I reached out to talk to a couple people today about that I haven't given a lot of thought to since we got together in August. And that doesn't happen very often, and it's not the entire agenda or anything like that, but just refreshing myself today, aside from returning all the phone calls to people, thank you. I did take a look at some of the items, and as a refresher, and again, this group doesn't have the ability to just get together and hash things out as you can in like the real world. So it's very different for us. So it's a lot of individual phone calls and conversations. So I will, I'll make sure that some collective gets together between now and the next meeting.
We can all send you our list of deep dive suggestions, can't we?
Yeah, you might be closer to
Let's get that started.
closer to the
I got it, you know,
the
a few on top of my
substance
head
than
right
you
now.
think anyway, Tim, so yeah, okay, maybe you'll just bring it to the meeting. We'll
So
see.
you're volunteering, right, Tim, to be on that committee?
That's what you get for,
No, I didn't say that.
well, that's what you get for talking
That's
first.
what I heard, that's what I heard, that's what I heard.
All right, moving along, information regarding the 2026 bus and fleet purchases has been included in the board packet. Are there any questions, discussion?
I think I'll come back next month. For that request.
That's good.
Right on a good time to ask for money.
Well, did we skip them last year or was that 2 years ago?
It's 2 years.
A couple years ago we did?
3 years.
Yeah, we bought buses last year, right?
Yeah,
Bus transportation.
Right, we bought some last year?
we
right?
did. Yes,
I'm sorry,
Yeah, we bought buses last year.
yes.
okay,
It's been about between 400,000 and 600,000 the last couple of years.
yeah.
So you saw my rationale.
Mhm.
We have 70 vehicles, and that's not including the 50 other engines that Brad maintains throughout the year. So it's just overwhelmed over there. And if you do the simple rotation, you're driving vehicles that are 20, 23 years old, going in 3 years. We put a lot of thought into this. The crazy thing is, if you go back to my first presentation of this role, I think the buses were $115,000. And all the things that we absorb during as a district, whether it's labor costs going up, materials costs going up, I don't know if anything's gone up more than buses. But that's the simple fact of what they are, and those are the costs. These are really high quality buses though. These are, I mean, for about the same amount of money, we're getting a much better bus than we were previous. Brad Schoolman is a master mechanic. He's one of these buses. So the other vehicles we've got in there are just budgetary items that we believe we can get vehicles that are good vehicles for that cost. There's not specific cost on those, but the buses are just on sky.
We transferred money out of transportation fund, right, 2.2 million,
Yes,
is that correct?
correct. But there's still plenty of reserve balance in there.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the price of buses, right,
Yeah.
just saying that, we did get the dollars into the transportation fund, and I know they were transferred out.
When I was doing my preliminary budget, I wasn't expecting the buses to be that much at all. I thought maybe 140, 150, but no.
Yeah.
So, and Brad would say, hey, we can bring this up, and people are gonna say the same thing. That's just what they cost.
Right. I get it, everything's high.
Yeah.
All right,
I know
thank
the
you,
timing's not good.
thank you.
I think the semi market actually has softened from the truck market has actually softened a little bit.
Sorry.
In the last two years, the semi market has actually softened a little bit from my recollection.
Oh, really?
A little bit. Because there was a shortage a couple years ago and then now
Yeah.
they're starting to catch
Yeah.
up.
Well, I think the availability is a little bit better, turnaround time, but cost for us is not.
Scott, I don't remember what the wait time was. I know it was over a year at one
14
time.
months.
Okay.
Yeah. Those small buses, now you guys purchased the activity buses last year. Those have been a huge help. Now you're still gonna hear complaints, but there's some large teams that we can't transport everybody on that team all the time. But those activity buses have eliminated the stress on the actual certified CDL drivers. Coaches can drive those and they've been much appreciated and alleviate a lot of pressure on the trip. Those are getting used all the time.
That's great.
So it says 64% will be reimbursed to the district over the next 5 years.
Yes, for buses. Any of the transfer students, we get reimbursed. It used to be closer to 90%, and they prorated to 75, now it's 64%.
80%, and then they keep prorating that 80%,
So we get a lot of that money back.
probably closer to 60% today. For ratios.
Okay, thank you. This concludes the information discussion items segment of the meeting. The board will now move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions or discussions regarding the items on the consent agenda? Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, Teresa, is there a second?
I'll second.
Nick, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Olshauser,
Aye.
Tyra,
Aye.
Wagenbach,
Aye.
Young, Boudreaux,
Aye.
Feldman,
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
The bill, the board will now move on to action items. The bill list, treasurer's report, district investment report, and bank statements are included in the board packet. Could I have a motion to approve payment of the bills?
I move to approve the payment of the bills in the amount of $5,645,221.04 as presented.
Teresa, is there a second?
I second.
Andrew, is there any discussion? Roll call vote.
Wagenbach,
Aye.
Young, Boudreaux,
Aye.
Feldman,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Olshauser,
Aye.
Tyra.
Aye.
Motion carried. Earlier this evening, the board held a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2026 budget. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the adoption of the budget. Could I have a motion to approve fiscal year 2026 budget?
I'll move to approve the adoption of fiscal year 2026 budget as presented.
Thank you, Nick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Youssef. Is there any discussion? The only thing I'll note for discussion is that I believe that it is a deficit, but I think it's the smallest deficit that we budgeted for in the last 5 years. And so I don't think we gave administration the mandate to, and obviously you want the budget to level out, but I know we didn't tell them to only bring us a budget that was, that broke even. We told them to give us what it looks like. And so, based on Mr. McKenzie's comments from last meeting, I took them to mean it was conservative, so I'm thinking that it'll be better. But some of the, earlier comments notwithstanding, I mean, those are real and that's where we are. But I am buoyed slightly by the fact that it is, at least while I've been here, the smallest budget deficit in 5 years that we're approving ahead of the next fiscal year. So thanks for the hard work on that, Mike and everyone else. Any other comments? Okay, roll call vote.
Young, Boudreaux,
Aye.
Feldman,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Olshauser,
No.
Tyra,
Aye.
Wagenbach,
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Then remember to sign that, I think regardless of how you voted, we still need everyone's signature, correct? Correct. Okay, thank you on that. Information regarding the resolution providing for the issue and sale of approximately $44 million of debt certificates to build and equip a new elementary school building, build, equip, and renovate school facilities and improve school sites has been included in the board packet. Could I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I wanted to make the comment that where did the 44 million come from?
Let's see if we can get a motion first, and then we'll have discussion. Or you want to make your comments first, then get the motion, and then have discussion?
Correct. You make
Okay.
the comments first, because we
Go
might
ahead.
change that now.
Sure.
That is assuming with Wilder Weight, we go with, I believe it was called option 1, which was the 4 pre-K classrooms and early childhood, bright future. The additional road, I think that was the B road as they had it on the label from last time. And according to Mark Beebe of Ratio and Kirk Anderson of PJ here, that all-in cost was about $43.5 million. So I rounded up to 44 because with these, you can always take less, you can't take more. So that's where that came from. This does not include the playgrounds that I spoke of at the other schools. Does not include any of Dr. Adrian's structural work. The verbiage on the resolution is written in such a way that if we were to do more, we would have the option to do that and spend it at other buildings besides Wilder Wait for building improvements, which obviously air handlers and those things will qualify for that. So that is the logic behind the initial request and some of the things that are not in that request.
Dr. Dearman, I don't have my information from last meeting, but was that the second one? Was the first one 690? Am I thinking right?
600.
Students? Is this the second?
This has always been for a school of 700 to 750.
Okay. I thought there were three numbers from last
So it was
meeting.
the original, and then option 1, and then option 2.
They had
Okay.
square footage.
You had the original, and then option 1 was with the 4 classrooms, and then option 2 was with the 6
So
classrooms.
this is option 1.
This is option
That's
1
what I thought.
with the road.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Mr. Feldman.
Okay, now could I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve the resolution providing for the issue and sale of approximately 44 million of debt certificate to build and equip new elementary school building, build, equip, and renovate school facilities and improve school sites.
Okay, thank you, Yusuf. Is there a second?
I'll second. So this, if you only use 42 million on the school, the 2 million is just up for discretion by who?
By the school board, you would approve expenditures for that. Yes.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. And do you want to add, I mean, because you and Nick participated in this. So you know, I assume you're comfortable, and you and Nick were cool with option 2 in the road. I mean, that's how, you're good with that number.
That's a maximum.
Option 1.
We'll cut it.
Yes.
Okay.
For pre-K rooms.
Okay.
Did you want to say something, Nick?
I was just, Dr. Dearman, so you're not suggesting using additional bond funds for these projects that you mentioned? You think this 44 is maybe allow for that potential?
Potentially, according to what Mark and Kirk said, 43.5 million, but if we can value engineer that back and have a couple million left out of the 44, then the board needs to have a conversation. When we go to actually issue the funding bonds, how much do we want to issue? But I don't see it changing much from the 43.5 million, the actual quote of what it's going to cost to build the building. So no, it does not include any of the extra stuff. You had a motion and a second, so you did.
Yeah, other discussion?
Yeah, I guess I have a question, and this really dovetails into Dr. Dearman's presentation earlier. With all of these items that we know we're going to have to take on for the construction, maintenance, construction of other things, whether it's air handling systems, roads, all these things coming that we know that those expenses are going to be there. Is there any reason not to want to amortize some of that over the longer term of bonds, as opposed to being put in a position where we're bootstrapped year after year? And so I guess the question I'm asking is, from your perspective, Dr. Dearman, is it better to pad this number with something so you know you can get those other things done, as opposed to, again, each year kind of coming back and saying, hey, look, this roof needs done, these air handling things need done, we've got to find the money for that, and us being in the same point over and over and over again?
That's a great question, and the short answer is there is a cost. I mean, it's like borrowing money, and there's going to be fees associated with that in the forms of interest. But those playgrounds, I'm telling you, we need to do the other 4, and we're setting ourselves up for failure if we don't. That's $1.4 million. That's not in this number. Those air handlers are 1997s. They're not gonna last. They just won't. That's gonna have to happen. That was another $3.5 million. So, there is a cost associated with it. You want to pay now or pay later? But the money's gonna have to come from somewhere. This would provide an option to get the money and delay that conversation that we just had about potentially having to raise taxes further. If we don't, we're gonna have to take that money out of reserves, which is only gonna expedite that timeline, I'm afraid, even more.
I think you guys are saying different things though, right? Because when you said we gotta do the 44, but Mick is talking about making the number bigger.
Correct.
Okay, you're saying so.
And there is a cost associated with that. There's no denying.
I would think that we should have that deep dive first, Dr. Dearman. These are operating funds, just like if you have a house and you have maintenance required, right? You need a new roof, if you keep borrowing. I just think we need to look at the expenditures and where we're at and go from there before we make a decision to do that. If the board wants to do that, that's up to the board.
I think we had a motion in a second, we should go with it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm not 48, not 50. I mean, this is taxpayer dollars once again.
Okay, any other comments before I call the question here? Looks like there's some enthusiasm. Roll call vote.
Bergeron,
Aye.
Feldman,
Aye.
Hall,
No.
Holzhauser,
This is for the 44, correct?
It is.
44, aye.
Tyra,
Aye.
Weidenbach,
Aye.
yeah.
Okay, motion carries. Information regarding the replacement of the pool filtration system has been included in the board packet. Could I have a motion to approve the pool filtration system replacement?
The board has three options here. One option is do nothing. It's always an option. Not what I would recommend. Second option is to replace it. Dr. Adrian, cost of that 200-ish thousand. Can you please go over those timelines again so the board's aware?
Yeah, so the existing system was put in 1990. It is a sand filter system. And it's my understanding that, to the best of the knowledge of the company that served us for the last 15 years, the sand has never been replaced. The sand makes it, when you replace it, it makes it more efficient. That being said, our system is pretty efficient right now, but it had a 25-year life expectancy, much like a hot water heater in your house, right? And I have one in my house now, and I want to replace it when I bought the house, and the owner said, don't touch that thing because it could last another 5 or 6 years, and as soon as you touch it, there's no guarantee that the new one will last 5 or 6 years, That being said, having gone through this last process with the chlorinator, that process took 6 months. And that was an easy switch in all of our minds, because we're just taking the updated version of that chlorinator that's about this big and putting it in the old, same brand, same function, like for like, okay? So that was an easy one for the engineers at the state to decide, yeah, that's okay to do. 6 months it took that process. If the filtration system goes down, it's gonna be an entirely new filtration system, okay? There's not one, they don't make one like the old one. That's gonna go through an even more rigorous review process. So that process could take 8 to 10, 8 to 12 months to get the health permit for that, all right? That's a long time. So that, heaven forbid, if that filtration system goes down tomorrow or next month, you can, even if we had a permit like that, it would take a minimum of 6 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks to get materials, 2 weeks to install. Minimum of 6 weeks. We know when that pulls down for 6 days, the hardships that it causes for the swimmers and the parents that are involved in that by transporting them all over the place. We know what 6 days looks like. Unfortunately, we know what several months look like recently. I can't imagine what it would look like for that program if it were down 8 to 12 months. Because that's really your only recourse. You've got to submit all the drawings, it goes in the queue, and a bigger project like that is going to take more time to review. Okay, so I just want you to be aware of that. Yes, Teresa.
Okay, so I'm not a swimmer, so help me understand this, right? So if you do this today, this replacement system, what's the timeline?
Okay, we do this today, I think, I gotta talk to Mr. McKenzie, we're not quite sure about the scope of this work, if it's specific enough that we don't have to bid it, but we may have to bid that work out. That would take probably 3 to 4 weeks to bid that out appropriately, starting tomorrow.
Okay,
And then from that point on, it would take a year.
when I'm talking timeline, okay. How long would the pool be down? Itself. I know you have to go through the bids and everything like that.
If you replaced it.
Right now, the pool gonna continue to run.
Yeah,
Right.
but if you spent the 185.9 or whatever your quote said, how long would that change out be? How long would
Right.
that pool be
How
down?
long?
It takes 2 weeks to do the change out.
2 weeks.
Yeah, once we get everything online, it takes, they say 10 business days.
And once you do that, this replacement system, what's the life of it?
10 year.
The life expectancy, 25 years.
25 years.
Well, it's a 10-year warranty though, what I
Yeah.
read. I mean,
Right.
in the document.
If you put in a new system, what is the life of that system?
That's the new system.
That's the new system.
You talk.
Well, this is a replace, so this isn't, so you're, okay, so that's the same thing.
Yes.
You were talking two different things. If it goes down, it's gonna take so much longer.
Yes, if it goes down, it's still the same process.
Okay, so it's the same system.
It's the same, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just,
I
what
got
I'm doing in this whole document is to try and get
I got
you
it.
aware of it,
Thank
so
you.
that you can't say, or you don't, well, if we knew about it, why didn't we do something about it? You know, because it really is gonna be a major hardship on this program if that thing goes down.
So this would be 2 weeks versus if it goes down and we don't have this in place, 8 to 12 months a year, right? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
It's no brainer. Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying. Appreciate it.
I'm fine with spending the money to fix it, but can we get some other bids? We're gonna get other bids, you said, and we're gonna bid it out?
I think that, again, we have to look at the particulars of this particular services provided. If it's specific enough, we may not have to bid it, but I'm thinking there could be other adequate
I
bidders.
want you to regardless. See, I don't know who the company you're working for, but can't you
Yeah.
just second with bid
Yeah.
anyway?
I think it's only fair for, I mean, how many times have they come public participation and talk about the pool? I mean, we got a new training center, we're getting, you know, all the different, sports are giving attention to, the pool's not getting any attention. But at minimum, we can do is pass this, get this, you know, make sure they're on the right track. Just like last time, they talked about tennis courts, and next thing you know, you brought up to me and Nick that you had a competition with that playing field where the training center is. Now they're gonna be able to play tennis and volleyball there. So I think the pool, it's only fair for them to be able to do the sports that they want to do, you know, treat all students equally.
How long ago was it, Tim, that you were on that
2019.
2019 that we did that? Was it that long ago? Is that what you said,
Yeah,
2019?
2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Okay. All right, it seemed like it was just yesterday.
The previous quote was 2019.
Okay, well, it's been a while.
They quoted that at that time.
It seems like it was not that long
It was
ago.
like 155.
What was that?
It was like 155,000 in 2019. Now it's 185.
Now, didn't we spend much more on it
Yeah,
for
but
something?
On different things though. That was one of the,
Oh,
that was
okay.
one of the several fixes
Yeah,
or things you were
okay.
gonna do, and
There
that
were
one
quite a
came
few
off,
things.
thinking it would last another 6
It
years.
was under us what they decided on.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Could the pool replacement, could that come out of the bonds and all, or no?
It potentially could if there was excess funds, potentially.
Okay, any other questions on that?
I did have a conversation with Mrs., well, she left, Mrs. Huntington, she was here out in the hallway at the last meeting, about, the pool in the 70s when it was built was a very nice pool. It's outlived its usefulness, in my opinion. And I believe she's right. It's not up to our standards. We need to do better, but where it's at, we couldn't do anything more with it than what we've done. I think the only other option is to look at a new pool, and I pitched the idea to her of running a referendum, similar to what Olympia did. If the people want it, give them the opportunity to vote for it, and let the voters tell the board what to do. If it's really desired, they'll come out for it. And she was agreeable to that. Just, it would take some time and some effort and some coordination to get that going. But I don't think we're at that point now, but I think in the near future, as we continue to look at this pool and the 150,000 or more it costs a year to run it, Is it worth putting the money into it? Or do we need to look at this other option of potentially building a new pool if the voters decide to do so? Again, not ready for that at this point, but something for the board to consider.
And I'd love to tell you that this will solve all pool problems, but it won't. I mean, we're just replacing part of an old system, and shutdowns happen, even our new HVAC system. I say new, 5-year-olds, we've battled that the whole time, most of the shutdowns because of the HVAC system. So I just wanted you to be aware that we have an antiquated piece, and it is important to the community that it's not shut down for a year.
Yep. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the pool filtration system replacement?
I move to approve the pool replacement system that's presented.
Is there thank you, Andrew. Is there a second? Thank you, Youssef. Any more discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
My only comment there would be like, is it imperative
I'll take
at the
that.
present time to do this? If in fact we're gonna have a referendum in a year, and now we've spent 200,000, the voters say, yeah, let's do a new pool, and now we put another 200 grand into this pool. I mean, if it's not imperative today, that's my only comment. Do we need to vote on this item today? Can it be postponed? That would be my thought, to flesh out this referendum concept a little bit more.
Well, I mean, the answer to all that is sure. I mean, it can be pushed. I mean, it can be fleshed out more. The problem with the referendum is, let's say it goes swimmingly. You guys get it? Okay, yeah, thank you. Let's say it goes swimmingly. That is 15 months from now, 14 months from now, 13 months from now, and then you're talking about, let's say it does what it's supposed to do, then you're talking about building one after that, and so that's another year, and building pools, but probably a year, design, plan, figure out where it's gonna go. So you're really talking about, even if that worked, it's 2 years out, and that's moving 2 years out of both of those things coming together. So I get where you're going. I mean, I actually use the analogy loosely about, putting new tires on a car you're about to trade in. I had that conversation with administration, but I came back to the same conclusion that I think Teresa sort of uttered earlier about just being pragmatic about it, so.
But to answer your question, no, it does not have to be done now, but you are potentially rolling the dice. That it is functioning now, and then it will continue to function for, if this were to go through a couple more years. But if it goes down, you just lock kids out of swimming for 6 months or more.
And if I thought it was a, 30, 60, 90 day kind of, let's study this. But again, you're talking about not knowing anything more about that for another 13 months.
Are they in there every day right now swimming, right? It's like their season. Yeah, it's Euro season,
We're
right?
there whenever we're there.
Yeah, we can't, yeah.
You don't need the 200,000 to start the permit process, though. You can get that started now, and then
I
you'll.
want to be able to solicit the bids.
Yeah.
Or to get the process going. If you approve it, so that you know you're gonna get a proposal, here's the final bid for 200,000 or 189, whatever it is. But I can have your approval before I go and do the bidding process.
Yeah, it's a number not to exceed 200,000 at this
Yeah,
point.
I mean, well, it's 189, but you gotta figure electrical, any extra plumbing, they need to run the new system, you gotta figure something in for that.
So because it takes so long to get the permit, do you order that equipment before you get the permit, or do you wait till the permit comes and then order? I don't know what the turnaround time is.
The order only takes 3 to 4 weeks right now.
Okay.
So that's not the issue. It's like Tim said, or maybe Tom, if it was down for 6 weeks and we could fix it in 6 weeks, that would be a problem. We'd all deal with it, right?
Yeah.
It's just that long waiting period for the permit, that's what I'm bringing to you.
And my question is, can't you start the permit tomorrow without us even?
Yeah, well, I can't start the permit without a vendor who can authorize the permit, do the engineering inspection, and send it. We have to have a vendor in place.
With his
and then they
items.
do the engineering on it, and send it off to the state.
Right.
We'll have, yes.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
Tom, can we put a not to exceed on there? Do you want to do it that way, or just, because I know you said that.
Yeah, I meant what I said, so, yeah, not to exceed. was said somewhere 200,000. I didn't make that up. Maybe it's not written right here, but,
Yeah,
That was the proposal.
okay.
The bid was at 189.
Right.
The bid was 185.6
just the
or
way it's
something.
written,
That's the ballpark.
If you said as presented, I mean,
I see where the confusion is here. So it was presented, but it was presented as, it's in his memo that says not to exceed 200,000.
yeah.
Okay,
stand it in there, right?
Yep.
okay.
I'll add.
All right, we had a motion and we had a second and we had some clarification here, so roll call vote.
Wagonbach?
Aye.
Is that Nick?
Yeah.
Young? Butcheron?
Aye.
Feldman?
Aye.
Hall?
Aye.
Holzhauser? Tyra?
Aye. Okay, that motion carried. Information regarding the semi-annual review of closed session minutes has been included in the board packet. Could I have a motion to approve the recommendation that the closed minutes from July 17th, 2024 through January 15th, 2025 remain closed?
I move to approve the recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Tim, is there a second?
Second.
Teresa, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Time is 7:12. This concludes the action items portion of the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn to closed session? I'll actually move to adjourn to closed session for the following purposes as stated in the Open Meetings Act. I have two at least here. A, the appointment, employment, compensation, and performance of specific employees, and B, student disciplinary cases. Anything else anyone wants me to add? Okay, is there a second to my motion?
I second.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 7:12, we'll be back.
Come on. Okay.
Youssef, is there a second?
Second.
Nick, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Time is 7:40. Could I have a motion to approve the Human Resources Consent Agenda?
I move to approve the human resources consent agenda as presented.
Teresa, is there a second?
Second.
Nick, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Olfilter,
Aye.
Tyra,
Aye.
Wagenbach,
Aye.
Nem, Mutjaron,
Aye.
Feldman,
Aye.
Hall.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Andrew, is there a second? Youssef, any discussion?
You got it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned, 7:41.